1. The company secured $500 million in funding for its expansion. 2. The company secured $750 million in funding for its expansion. 3. $500,000 was allocated for research and development. 4. They invested €250 million in the new infrastructure project. 5. £250,000 were spent on renovating the historic building. 6. She inherited $600 million in assets from her late grandfather. 7. The government pledged 700,000 yen to support local businesses affected by the pandemic. 8. €250 million were allocated to upgrade the transportation network. 9. $250,000 were donated to the Charity for Humanitarian Aid. 10. They earned $450 million in revenue last quarter. 11. $500,000 is the starting salary for entry-level positions in the company. 12. The startup raised €300 million in its latest funding round. 13. £250,000 were allocated for the construction of the new school. 14. She won $550 million in the lottery and decided to retire early. 15. $500,000 was allocated for research and development. 16. They invested €250 million in the new infrastructure project. 17. £250,000 were spent on renovating the historic building. 18. She inherited $500 million in assets from her late grandfather. 19. The government pledged €500,000 to support local businesses affected by the pandemic. 20. €250 million were allocated to upgrade the transportation network. 21. 350,000 yen was stolen from the bank vault in a daring heist. 22. They invested €400 million in renewable energy projects. 23. $200,000 were spent on upgrading the technology infrastructure. 24. The CEO's salary package is worth $700 million annually. 25. $500,000 was awarded to the winner of the science competition. 26. They secured €250 million in funding for the healthcare initiative. 27. £300,000 were set aside for disaster relief efforts. 28. She inherited $800 million from her wealthy uncle. 29. 450,000 yen was donated to the local animal shelter. 30. They invested €350 million in building sustainable housing. 31. £200,000 were raised through a charity auction. 32. The company's valuation reached $900 million after the latest funding round. 33. $400,000 is the budget for the marketing campaign. 34. €250 million were allocated for scientific research. 35. £250,000 were spent on upgrading the company's fleet of vehicles. 36. She won $650 million in a lawsuit against the multinational corporation. 37. 300,000 yen was invested in stocks and bonds for retirement savings. 38. £250,000 were donated to the Charity for Humanitarian Aid. 39. They earned $500 million in revenue last quarter. 40. 500,000 yen is the starting salary for entry-level positions in the company. 41. The startup raised €250 million in its latest funding round. 42. £250,000 were allocated for the construction of the new school. 43. She won $500 million in the lottery and decided to retire early. 44. $500,000 was stolen from the bank vault in a daring heist. 45. They invested €250 million in renewable energy projects. 46. £250,000 were spent on upgrading the technology infrastructure. 47. The CEO's salary package is worth $500 million annually. 48. $500,000 was awarded to the winner of the science competition. 49. They secured €250 million in funding for the healthcare initiative. 50. £250,000 were set aside for disaster relief efforts.